Okay, this is going to be your early republic, Age of Jackson. It's your 8th grade U.S. History Common Assessment Test. Make sure you pause in between questions to allow yourself enough time to answer the questions. If you are not sure, skip it and come back to it. And you can ask someone to reread it, or you can drag back and forth to wherever you need to have it reread. Number 1, after the American Revolution, the U.S. needed to pay a huge war debt. How did Alexander Hamilton want to do this? A. Borrow money from England. B. Sell farms and public land. C. Tax Americans. D. Conduct a door-to-door campaign. Number 2, how did President Washington manage the issue of defining authority in the central government? F. He used a presidential executive order to create the judicial branch. G. He established a cabinet of officers to lead parts of the government. H. He pushed Congress to pass an import tax to fund salaries for federal officials. J. He set up 2 political parties to compete for powerful positions in government. Number 3, in 1794, the Secretary of the Treasury applied a tax on whiskey, which Pennsylvania farmers refused to pay. This event is important because it A. affirmed the right of citizens to refuse to obey unjust laws. B. weakened the authority of the Treasury Department. C. increased tensions between the North and South. D. confirmed the authority of federal government. Number 4, one of the causes of the War of 1812 was the F. fear of a French attack from Canada. G. seizure of American ships by the French. H. impressment of U.S. sailors by the British. J. seizure of American ships by the Spanish. Number 5, which of the following best completes the diagram above? So you have cause of the Whiskey Rebellion. Attacks have been placed on any whiskey made in the United States. Solution to the Whiskey Rebellion. Militiamen, commanded by President George Washington, marched into western Pennsylvania to stop rioting farmers. And importance of the Whiskey Rebellion. And A, a state court determined the outcome of the rebellion. B, a congressional act allowed the troops to establish order. C, the military action established the U.S. government's power to enforce laws. Or D, the military action established the Supreme Court's power of judicial review. Number 6, soon after the U.S. Constitution was adopted, disagreements arose over the proper role of government. These disagreements led to the development of the first F, corporations, G, cabinet offices, H, civil rights movements, or J, political parties. Number 7, which was an important result of the War of 1812? A, the United States public developed a sense of nationalism. B, the British halted all transatlantic shipments of trade goods. C, the United States gained a large amount of territory in the West. D, the British exploited regional differences between the North and the South. Number 8, use the information in the box and your knowledge of social studies to answer the following questions. So you have the British defeated at the Battle of New Orleans. Enemy captured Washington, D.C. USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, won great victory. Invasion from Canada, unsuccessful. To which event do these headlines refer? F, War of 1776. G, French and Indian War. H, War of 1812. Or J, War for Independence. Number 9, which issue is one reason for the development of political parties in the early republic? A, there was an agreement over the war with Great Britain in 1812. B, there was disagreement over the role and strength of the national government. C, there was disagreement over the Louisiana Purchase. D, the Founding Fathers were split over including the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. Number 10, which of the following best characterizes the age of Jackson in U.S. history? F, more Americans played an active role in politics. G, social reformers called for improved living conditions in cities. H, revolutionaries gained U.S. independence from Great Britain. J, thousands of miles of railroads were built to cross the American continent. Number 11, you want to use the excerpt in your knowledge of social studies to answer the following question. So I'm going to read the excerpt. Two political sects have arisen with the U.S., the one believing that the executive is the branch of our government which the most needs support. The other, like the analogous branch of the English government, it is already too strong for the Republican parts of the Constitution, and therefore in equivocal cases they incline to the legislative powers. The former of these are called Federalists, sometimes aristocrats or monocrats, and sometimes Tories, after the corresponding sect in the English government of exactly the same definition. The latter are styled Republicans, Whigs, Jacobins, anarchists, disorganizers, etc. These terms are in familiar use with most persons. This was Thomas Jefferson in a letter to John Wise, February 1798. So in this letter, number 11, in this letter, Jefferson is describing the beginning of what? A, American political parties. B, the first presidential election. C, the impeachment process against a serving president. Or D, the division between the American colonies and Britain. Number 12, which of the following best describes James Monroe's foreign policy practices? F, make foreign alliances whenever possible. G, expand the United States overseas holdings. H, keep European countries out of the Western Hemisphere. J, remain loyal to France's new government. And number 13. The great rule of conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is to have with them as little political connection as possible. So far as we have already formed engagement, let them be fulfilled with perfect good faith. Here let us stop. Europe has a set of primary interests which to us have none or a very remote relation. Hence she must be engaged in frequent controversies, the causes of which are essentially foreign to our concerns. The statement above influenced American foreign policy towards isolationism. Who made the statement above and when? George Washington in his farewell address. Thomas Jefferson, Virginia Resolution. C, James Polk, War Message to Congress in 1846. Or D, James Madison, War Message to Congress in 1812. Number 14, our economic impact of the War of 1812 on the United States was F, a stock market crash and falling prices. G, a closer trading connection with Canada. H, a greater reliance on U.S. manufacturing. J, a decline of transportation infrastructure. Number 15, the Monroe Doctrine is best described by which of the following? A, secured a military alliance between the Americas and France. B, prohibited foreign countries from interfering with the Americas. C, prohibited the Americas from giving military aid to foreign countries. Or D, allowed England and France to give aid to the Americas. Number 16, which of the following statements summarizes the impact of the War of 1812? F, after the conflict, the increase in confidence led immediately to territorial expansion. G, after nearly being defeated, the United States provided for a high defense budget. H, after nearly being defeated, the nation suffered its first economic depression. J, after the conflict, the United States enjoyed a period of economic growth. Number 17, which was a direct result of the resolution of the nullification crisis? A. States were able to declare federal law as unconstitutional. B. The compromise tariff was proposed, lowering tariffs. C. The federal tariff of traded goods was raised across the country. D. South Carolina seceded from the Union. Number 18 in Marbury v. Madison, the Supreme Court established a principle that would eventually be used by all courts to F. Strike down any law that the court deemed unconstitutional. G. Decide the outcome of contested election results. H. Overturn any impeachment that the court deemed unsupported by evidence. J. Mediate disputes related to commerce between states. Number 19. Which phrase completes the graphic above? So you have a graphic that has increase in U.S. industrialization, growth of American nationalism, strengthening of isolationism, increase in westward migration, and end of the Federalist Party. So you're going to fill in which phrase completes the graphic above. A. Results of the War of 1812. B. Causes of the expansion of slavery. C. Issues of the presidential election of 1808. D. Themes of Washington's farewell address. Number 20. Which best completes the diagram above? So you have a diagram of the War of 1812, and you have some causes, and you have some effects. So you want to fill in the blank with F. British invaded Canada. G. War blocked British imports. F. Fire destroyed Washington, D.C. Or J. British controlled American Indian trade. So you're trying to fill in a cause with the arrow pointing to an effect of Americans were forced to make their own goods. If you need more help with that and reading any of the cause and effects, just ask someone, an adult in the room, teacher in the room. Number 21. In response to the XYZ affair and threats to national security, Congress passed the what? A. Alien and Sedition Acts. B. Alien Registration Act. C. Espionage Act. D. Logan Act. Number 22. The decision in Marbury v. Madison was significant in U.S. history because it F. Reinforced federal authority over American Indian affairs. G. Confirmed the power of Congress to regulate interstate commerce. H. Established the practice of judicial review by the Supreme Court. J. Upheld the power of the Electoral College to choose the Vice President. Number 23. Why was the election of Andrew Jackson in 1828 important in the development of American politics? A. It led to the development of the Republican Party. B. It was more democratic as more white males voted. C. It was the first to impose a poll tax on voters. D. It was more democratic as more women voted. Number 24. In 1832, the Supreme Court ruled that Georgia did not have legal authority over the Cherokees living in the state. President Andrew Jackson responded to this decision by F. Filing another petition against the Cherokee Nation. G. Ignoring the ruling and allowing Georgia to evict the Cherokee Nation. H. Ordering state officials in Georgia to negotiate with the Cherokee Nation. Or J. Asking Congress to pay reparations to the Cherokee Nation. Number 25. George Washington set an important precedent by A. Establishing the State of the Union Address. B. Stepping down after 2 terms. C. Issuing the first pocket veto. D. Recognizing Washington, D.C. as the capital. Number 26. Which conclusion can be made regarding the influence of John Marshall's leadership over the Supreme Court? F. The Supreme Court's power and prestige increased under John Marshall's leadership. G. The Supreme Court finally became a branch of government when John Marshall was Chief Justice. H. The Supreme Court developed a reputation for being weak under John Marshall's leadership. J. The Supreme Court the Supreme Court's reputation for fairness weakened when John Marshall was Chief Justice. Number 27, what was one effect of these events on the 1828 presidential election? So you have the presidential election of 1824. Andrew Jackson won the most votes in an electoral college, but he did not have a majority. Under the 12th Amendment, the decision was turned over to the House of Representatives, which elected John Quincy Adams. Jackson's supporters called Adams' election the result of a corrupt bargain. So, again, what was one effect of these events on the 1828 presidential election? A. Votes were cast by secret ballot. B. Property qualifications for voting were strengthened. C. Poll taxes were reduced. D. Voter participation increased. Number 28. American Indian tribes such as the Chickasaw, Muskogee, and others were forcibly relocated in what came to be known as the Trail of Tears, primarily because the federal and state governments wanted control of F. Fertile land that could be used for agriculture. G. Property that could be sold to other countries. H. Large populations of American Indian slave labor. Or J. Coastal land that could be used for importing goods. Number 29. I'm going to read the excerpt. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved for the states respectively, or to the people. 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Conflicting interpretations of this amendment played a major role in the A. Bank War, B. Nullification Crisis, C. Corrupt Bargain, or D. XYZ Affair. Number 30. When George Washington became president, there were many economic problems, including the government and states owing millions of dollars from the American Revolution. In response to this crisis, Alexander Hamilton proposed a 4-point plan. Which part of his plan was never accepted? F. Create a national bank to make loans. G. Impose a whiskey tax to raise money. H. Repayment of federal and state debts. Or J. Apply a high tariff on imported goods. Number 31. And this is going to be your last question. Number 31, what did the Indian Removal Act of 1830 authorize President Jackson to do? A. Negotiate treaties to relocate Native American tribes west of the Mississippi. B. Forcibly remove all American Indians to reservations in the eastern United States. C. Remove American Indians from their lands to attend English-speaking boarding schools. D. Declare war on any Native American tribe who resisted the relocation treaties. That is your end of test. Again, please click the Mark as Done button when you are through. Make sure that you have gone back and checked your test and make sure you have answered all of your questions.